Hello, welcome to the new episode of Türkiye Talks. Today, we are going to talk about Turkish-German relations. Merkel has left office after 15 years of governance. Now there is a new coalition government in Germany, and we expect that there will be a new chapter opening between Turkey and Germany. But also there are some, I think, challenges that remain to be addressed. Today we have a guest from Middle East Technical University, Professor Hüseyin Bağcı. Professor Bağcı, welcome to join us. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. And Kadir will join us from Washington, D.C. Today we will be looking at different aspects of Turkish-German relations. As I said, there are lots of opportunities as well as challenges ahead. Professor Bağcı, can you please explain to us what was the main framework of relations during the Merkel era, so that we can now look at the new government. But in order to understand the transition and also maybe challenges ahead, we need to look at Germany, Turkish relations in the last decade, so that maybe we can understand the background and the framework of discussion.
Thank you very much, first of all, for the invitation. It is a great pleasure for me to be with you. First of all, the Turkish-German relations have experienced a lot of up and downs in the last 2 decades, I would say. Tayyip Erdogan became Prime Minister in 2003. Angela Merkel became Prime Minister in 2005. So they have been 2 political leaders in the Western world, the most experienced one, if you want, staying in power, democratically elected. One is 16 years, Merkel, and now Erdogan, still 19 years. It is a very long term within the democratic experience in Europe. Now, the Turkish-German relations in the first 10 years, I would say from 2002 to 2011, was very well. Germany supported Turkey. Turkey became candidate to European Union in 1999. 2005, full negotiations started for the membership. And Angela Merkel in the beginning was not to comprehend the Turkish role, Turkish importance in the region and in the global effect, in the global context. But later on, she started to see Turkey not only from a candidate country for the European Union, but also geopolitical and geostrategic importance, not only for the region, but also for Germany, as it is the case today. The German security or European security depends on 4 countries: Turkey, Russia, United Kingdom, and the United States of America. So the Turkish-German relations have a specific character. The Germans have the specific relations with 3 countries. In German, it is called spezielle Beziehungen, which means Germany, Turkey, Poland, and Israel. And Turkey is, of course, on the one hand, a country, historically speaking, very close to Germany. We don't need to go into this, but from today's perspective, Turkey has more than 3 million people living in Germany. And now in the German parliament, we have 18 from Turkey coming politicians. One of them is Minister of Culture and many agriculture, and many others have also important positions. So there's a 3rd generation of the Turks becoming part of the German political landscape, and they are, if you want, bridge between 2 societies, between Turkey and Germany. But Merkel and Recep Tayyip Erdogan, as president now and before prime minister, they came along very well with each other because their background is important, their style of ruling is important, and they convinced the voters to be re-elected so many times. Angela Merkel did not lose any elections since she is in the parliament, and Tayyip Erdogan, from Turkish perspective, is also very successful. So we have to compare the Turkish-German relations, of course, in this bilateral special relationship on the one hand, but also in the regional and in the global context, that they are members of NATO. They have interest what happens in the region with Russia, Ukraine, Caucasia, and Germany in this respect, after Merkel, of course, we will debate later on how the new German government will have the relations with Turkey, but Merkel period until 2011, 2012, it was a perfect type of relations. The German press, for example, very much praised the Turkish Prime Minister, and then at the same time the Turkish President Abdullah Gül. I personally accompanied the visit of Turkish President Abdullah Gül to Germany in September 2011. When he was visiting Germany, he gave an interview to German newspaper, one of the German newspapers, leading one. He said, there are two sound economies in Europe now, Turkey and Germany. And you would remember, Turkey was in the first 10 years of 2000 had nearly two-digit economic growth. Germany and Turkey and China have been, if you want, world leaders in this respect. And the Turkish economy was developing very much. Turkey received a lot of foreign investments. In Turkey, we have 7,500 German companies, big one, medium one. And in recent years, I will come to this, unfortunately, we had this polarizing political rhetoric and conditions. Therefore, in the first 10 years, Turkey was in good terms with Germany, and Germany traditionally appeared as the supporter of Turkish business in the European political matters. So Germany was, if you want, political supporter and or political solicitor, if you want, for Turkey. At any conflict, Germany was standing behind Turkey, and it was politically for Turkey very well to rely on one country in several issues, bilateral and multilateral, that Germany was always there. And also Angela Merkel also realized the importance of Turkey, not only in economic terms, but also in cultural, political, and in military terms. We are still number 16 of German foreign economic relations, but Germany is for us in the first 4 countries. So we have very close relations with Germany in economic terms. Outside of this human psychological relations, with more than 3 million people living in Germany, and more than 1 million of them are now the German citizens, and they decide about the fate of Germany. What happened in the second part of 2010 and 11 afterwards? Arab Spring started. What happened in Libya, what happened in Syria have been a very interesting developments. And Turkey was, I had difficulties to understand this, and I wrote this, why Turkey started to use a very polarizing rhetoric to Germans is still for me today a secret. I don't know. Usually this type of rhetoric probably served to Turkish domestic politics, but to have conflict with Germany was not necessary and problematic. I remember, for example, in 2007, 2008, in the Munich Security Conference, for example, I was with Prime Minister Erdogan at that time in Munich Security Conference. He was very well received, and in Cologne there was a great meeting. He talked about the negative effects of assimilation that the Turks should contribute. It was a spring weather, I would say, in those years. But then, after Arab Spring, whatever the reasons are, the rhetoric changed. Maybe because of Daesh terrorism, because of migration coming from Syria to Turkey, and Germany, as you would remember very well, received nearly 1 million Syrians.
Professor Bağcı, can I interrupt?
One more. Robin Alexander from the newspaper The Welt published a wonderful book with the title Getriebenen, Those Who Have Been Forced to Leave. There is explaining the details of 2016 March 18 agreement between Turkey, Germany, and the Netherlands. It is not an agreement, actually. It is a talk and a signed memorandum, and this, of course, created also a turning point in German-Turkish relations, but also in Turkish-European Union relations.
Well, thank you very much for this recap. Actually, that's a very good summary of the 16 years of relations. You have also, alluded to ups and downs of the relations, but you seem to be questioning why things went, wrong in some areas. There are two things that I need to raise with you, because that happened during the Merkel's period, but I assume that this will be also taken over by the new government, because Merkel left a big legacy. One is Turkey's EU membership, because Merkel, as you would remember, proposed a special partnership, privileged partnership, and I think this was one of the reasons why both countries started to have a debate. At the time, I remember that Erdogan said that we are not going to accept any sort of privileged partnership or a status. We would like to be full members. I think this was one of the reasons why there was some sort of skirmishes. And also the second reason,
not in 2000. Angela Merkel suggested this when she visited Turkey as an opposition leader in February 2005, and Turkey rejected this. Yeah, so she was not in government. She came to government in September 2005, and then Turkey started the negotiations. Later on, it was actually not Merkel but Sarkozy who stopped the Turkish process with the European Union. So Germany was still at that time very neutral, not to be against or just to stop the negotiation process. It was French President Sarkozy.
Right. Then the other, I think, issue between the two countries took place when Turkey made intervention in Syria, when there was a Turkish operation. And there was a debate in Germany that Germany should not sell any more weapons to Turkey because they were used in Syria. And that, I think, has also caused some sort of issues between the two countries. But anyway, the Merkel period is now over, so we have a new government, and they signed a coalition, I think, paper, a document. And there are some references to Turkey and to other regional issues that might impact the relations. So what are your expectations of the new government when we look at the deeply rooted aspects that you have just mentioned, $40 billion of trade relations, about 3 million Turkish diaspora living in there, and NATO partnership as well. But also there are some challenges that we need to maybe focus on. After, I think, what I've said, maybe Kadir take over on some of the issues that you will raise now.
First of all, the new government, Olaf Scholz, the new chancellor, he will continue to have the similar policies like Angela Merkel, being aware of Turkey's geopolitical and geostrategic importance. There will be the continuation of Merkel's policies. Foreign Minister, Madame Baerbock, will be creating some troubles because the Greens have been always very critical towards Turkey, starting from the human rights to other political issues. But we had in 1998-2005 period, Joschka Fischer as a foreign minister. He was a very realistic one. I think the German foreign policy has to be a very realistic one. So at the moment, the difference is the Germans are aware that the talks stopped for the full membership, and now the policy will be not based on political values, but rather to more economic and geopolitical and geostrategic relations. So we will become partners in security field more rather than in political field. But therefore, I would say Olaf Scholz is the boss, not the foreign minister. And he's economist. He knows the value of Turkey, as you said, the Turkish contribution not only as a state, but also the contribution of the Turks within Germany. And in his political party, he has a lot of MPs on his side, Turkish origin. Your analysis is right. So Germany, despite all these discussions being champion of human rights, Angela Merkel signed just one week before she left the power $5 billion weapons sellings to several countries. Germany never ever before had such a business in selling weapons to world countries. And this is a record, actually, that Angela Merkel have done it. So I do not think that Germany would try to get with Turkey more into conflict. I do not think so. But the critics towards Turkey will continue. In this sense, to President Erdogan in particular. Never ever before the Turkish president's reputation in Germany was so bad. But it is the same person, Professor Küçükcan. In the first 10 years, from 2000 to 2012, in German press, Erdogan was praised as a good man, democratic, and all this. And now the wind, if you want, changed totally against him. We can debate about the reasons from their side and from Turkish side. Therefore, the reality remains at the moment nearly all intellectuals and political parties are against Tayyip Erdogan. So this is a problem which is expected to be solved if President Erdogan is not winning the elections in 2023. In Germany, there is already a debate about the finality of Erdogan's ruling or about the post-Erdogan period. This is such an expectation there. But of course, if it is not the case, if Erdogan would win the elections, then they have to wait another 5 years. Then we will have some other troubles.
Well, that's an interesting debate, of course. I mean, on the one hand, we are talking about relations between the countries,
Yeah.
but sometimes leaders play a major role, as you have just mentioned here. As far as the relations are concerned, I think, as you have just said, the term is realism is an important one. Because when we look at the interests of the countries, I think, rather than the leaders' position and how they are received, I think the interests are important. Here, I just want to turn to Kadir, because we are talking about a new government, and also maybe we need to look at the broader foreign policy options and the preference of Germany. And Turkey plays a role there, but I think when you look at from Washington, D.C., so there is a transatlantic dimension of that relationship as well. And Germany is part of the NATO, and there's a lot of expectation from such a strong, economically strong country to lead, I think, EU affairs. How do you see this from US, Kadir?
Well, the new Scholz government seems has given signals that it would actually be a bit closer to the transatlantic relationship than Merkel herself, it is a coalition government, and there are competing, I think, rhetoric, competing interests, competing priorities among the parties. And Scholz looks like a skillful leader, and he'll be able to manage all these. But I think the new foreign minister, Baerbock, I think she will. She might have sort of rhetorical criticisms of Turkey, and that might get us into trouble in terms of German-Turkish relations in the months and years ahead. Of course, earlier this year, EU and Turkey agreed on a positive agenda, and there is a reduction of tensions in the Eastern Mediterranean, so that will help. But I expect a bit more emphasis on this democracy, quality of democracy, human rights issues, especially because that's also something Biden wants to focus on. But of course, I think interests will matter. I just wanted to point out a couple things based on Hüseyin Hoca's remarks. I feel like one big opportunity was missed, and at the time Merkel mentioned privileged partnership with Turkey, Turkey's membership was considered almost a done deal. I remember traveling in Europe, everybody was thinking that we were already EU members, and Merkel's suggestion of privileged partnership was actually a step backwards in terms of Turkey's EU membership, and I think that was a critical mistake on the part of the EU, not just Germany, and that would have prepared the relationship for a better sort of, when it was tested during the Arab Spring, like Professor Bağcı said, it would have, I think, withstood it better. And of course, the Western support, US support for the YPG, PKK-linked groups in northern Syria, and sort of EU support for that, I think was one of the major reasons why Turkey's, and of course millions of refugees coming into Turkey, and Europe looking like not doing much on that front, really caused the relationships to sour. And as Professor Bağcı said, of course, there's a big anti-Erdogan sort of agenda or rhetoric in Europe. With the new governments sort of feeling closer to Washington in terms of transatlantic issues, in terms of Russia and China, then if things, the tensions, for instance, in Ukraine get heightened, then Turkey will find itself perhaps in between Russia and the West, and it will have to navigate that, and it won't be good for Turkish-German relations, Turkish-EU relations. And of course, this is the biggest trading partner for Turkey, Germany, and I don't think Turkey wants to do anything to jeopardize that. And those will be the main, concern. But I think we shouldn't underestimate the Europe's inability to think more strategically, to be honest, both in terms of regional affairs and in terms of how to deal with Russia and China. As you know, that was for a long time kind of outsourced to Washington. Washington provided the framework of what to do, how to deal with Russia and China, and Merkel appeared to be a bit more like, okay, let's calm down, not confront Russia that openly. And I feel like Scholz's government is going to be a bit more willing to do that. And that might have implications on the relationship with Turkey as well. Hüseyin Hocam, I actually wanted to ask you a question. You actually alluded to that, and you said Chancellor is the boss here, and the foreign minister will have to, at the end of the day, her remarks or her activities will have to be managed and overseen by the Chancellor. And Merkel was very much in charge of the foreign policy. Can you explain that dynamic a bit more? Do you expect less assertive foreign policy initiatives or posture by the Chancellor himself or not?
Thank you. First of all, in German political system, the boss is Bundeskanzler. The foreign minister is important. In the past, we had foreign ministers like Hans-Dietrich Genscher, like Joschka Fischer, or Westerwelle. They all listened to the general foreign policy strategy of Germany. Germany is, from this perspective now, definitely a country which is economically speaking the leader of European Union, $5 trillion economy, the most populous country, more than 80 million. This is the biggest one. And after the withdrawal of Great Britain, France and Germany now the leading motors of European Union. It is true that Germany cannot do everything, but nothing can happen against German will. When you look to the European Union high-level decision-making process that you see now, proportionally overqualified representation of the German origin politicians and decision makers. There is another good question. Foreign Minister, now Madame Baerbock, she tries to have a feminist foreign policy also. She is speaking, according to their rhetoric from the Greens, against everything, environmentalists, against China, against human rights, etc. But Germany, at the end of the day, is a trade nation. As Professor Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu wrote, Handelsstaat. The Germans make business. The Germans' non-interference in several issues, like in Libya, for example, Germany is very careful not to disturb the economic relations of the country. Any Bundeskanzler, any German chancellor would follow much more rational, economic-oriented policies. The foreign ministers, one of them, the most important one, it was Hans-Dietrich Genscher, 18 years long. He was foreign minister, and he followed also Helmut Schmidt and Helmut Kohl, and he is one of the architects of the German unification. Joschka Fischer was together with Gerhard Schröder, Social Democrat, and it was Joschka Fischer who passed the bill in the parliament that the German troops were sent to Afghanistan. So at the end of the day, I will say Otto von Bismarck's Realpolitik will prevail in German foreign policy. So she has, I can tell you, I talked to some German diplomats also in Berlin and here, they say, yes, she has a space of maneuver room, okay, but it may not disturb the general state interest of Germany. Rhetoric is fine, but how to apply? She is talking, for example, about feminist policy, but her previous Bundeskanzler, Angela Merkel, signed again, just 1 week before, $5 billion weapon selling. So Germany is a country among the first 5 economies in the world, and the Germans today, they have so much money plus after the end of the year. It is nearly half of Turkish GDP, so 300 billion euro. This is a lot of money. Now, what will be new in the new government? I think Mr. Macron is now French president, but he is going to have the elections. The first visit of German Chancellor was to France. Germany and France are now the leading powers of the European Union. Germany has no nuclear weapons. France has nuclear power, and it is part of the United Nations Security Council. In Germany, the intellectuals debate this, that Germany is not acting appropriately concerning the economic and military richness of the country. That a lot of Germans, 22 German academics came together and they published a book that Germany should not be so passive. Germany should be much more active in international politics. Even some German intellectuals are very unhappy. They think that France is leading Germany. Actually, the Germans pay, but the political leadership lies in French hands. Now, there are 3 countries in Europe Turkey, Russia, and Germany. It is called Bermuda Triangle of Europe. What it means? It means these three countries, they have so specific relations, like we have with the Russians. The Germans have also with the Russians. $600 billion they invest in Russia. There is a group of people called the Russian understanders, Russland Versteher. It means Putin, who speaks also German, by the way, and he was talking with Angela Merkel in German. And what is more important, Russia remains the most important specific country for Germany. In 2008, Angela Merkel resisted to take both Georgia and Ukraine into NATO. This roadmap was prepared and Germany rejected. Why? Because Germany was not acting against Russia's interest. It will be the same now. The problem is Olaf Scholz is someone who got his political heritage from Helmut Schmidt. Helmut Schmidt was a social democrat, but in Germany he is called the right man in the wrong party. It means it should be actually leading the Christian Democrats in his foreign policy. Interestingly, in the 80s, it was social democrats who preferred to have Pershing missiles on the German soil, who rejected this social democrats, who accepted this Christian Democrats. So it is so interesting in German foreign policy. And now we have Olaf Scholz and Madame Baerbock. Now, Olaf Scholz is one very rational one, economist. He knows how to deal with the money, and he will continue to have the policy of Angela Merkel. This is a problem within the coalition government in Germany, how far the Greens can define the foreign policy orientation of Germany. They will be not able to direct German foreign policy as they want. It has not been the case in the past, but she brings a new flair into discussion. Her talk to China, for example, she is not traveling to Olympic Winter Games in China. Fine, the Chinese wouldn't mind, but Airbus has 10,000 workers in China. Spare parts of Airbus, the most important one, is produced in China. It is interesting maybe to understand Germany appears as the champion of European values. Britain has never been criticizing China, never. They make the business with China. The Chinese know this, that Germany is important for them, but the more we move to the future, the more China will be more effective. At the moment, concerning the transatlantic relations, several European countries have mixed feelings when Biden says China is our enemy, in quotation. Germany is not so far to explain this, and it will not. And there is another problem within the transatlantic relations. Biden comes back with the values, but in Germany, many people say, if you would have left Afghanistan, then why you ask us to go there? We are defeated with you because you withdraw, and we had to withdraw also our army from there. The question is the future, how the European Union's future will be shaped. Macron is not interested in the enlargement of European Union into the Balkans. Albania, for example, he said directly, we don't need Albania in the European Union. Serbia, for example, another country. The Balkans and Central and Eastern Europe actually is the interest sphere of Germany, historically speaking. Again, Turkey, Russia, and Germany, there are three countries who have influence there. Two countries expanded their influence culturally, politically after the end of the Cold War without shooting one bullet. This is Turkey and this is Germany. So from this perspective, of course, Germany at the end of the day has to realize, bilaterally speaking, to alienate Turkey is not in the interest of Germany. Not only because we have so many million people there, but also that the German tourists come here, the German industry is here, and the Germans, in this respect, concerning the Central Asia, Caucasia developments, they try now to go to those countries through Turkey. Suddenly, Turkey gains another weight, political weight, because of this union of the Turkish states. Middle East is also important. Germany still sells Mercedes to Bashar Assad. German companies like Bayer and like the others are still in Libya. The Germans never left Libya. All the others left, but not the Germans. And the Germans are also in good terms with other countries, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Israel. So Germany's policy in the Middle East, we had recently a PhD thesis about Angela Merkel's Middle East policy by Ahmet Bülbül. We see there how the German Middle East policy is basically oriented economic profit. They are aware that they cannot bring democracy to Middle East. It is not possible. But Germany was a profit maker of this neutral position, not to get involved too much, like the British, like the French or the Americans.
Okay, I think that brings us to, again, few specific issues that I need to address, because now we see that I think Germany is very rationalist. It's very realist and always trying to be on the winning side. Okay, that's for sure, I think, and that's why I think the values are mentioned on a rhetorical level, on a discursive level. But when it comes to day-to-day politics, Germany pursues a different agenda. Here, Professor Bağcı, I would like to raise one issue, because the current foreign minister said before she, of course, went to the office that the Turkish-EU deal on migration should be scrapped totally. Do you think the current government can bring this issue on the agenda, that this agreement or this deal should be scrapped? Turkey is asking for the renewal of that agreement, but I think she is quite tough on this issue.
Talip hocam, can we just
also Turkish side is tough. I mean, she is tough, but Turkey is tougher. Because it is not between Germany and Turkey, it is between Turkey and the European Union. And Turkey is not alone there, as you know. Yes, we can talk about this 18 March 2016 proposal, treaty, whatever we call it. We know that Turkey is like a wall preventing the Europeans from the migration waves. Turkey can open the borders. Turkey can do many other things, like Belarus issue recently, Poland and White Russia border question. Who was responsible again? Turkey. Why? Because Turkish airline is flying. So, but the Europeans' nightmare is the migration, and all the populist movements in Europe. Professor Küçükcan wrote about this groups of Muslims, Turks, diaspora on the European continent and in Great Britain. You tell also there how the European countries fear Islamophobia is not something which fallen out from the sky. It is the result of all these discussions and conflicts, and maybe the German government should deal with these populist movements more than before. Angela Merkel said, we never go to have any coalition with AfD, the Alternative für Deutschland party. And this is a very clear position. And now we have three-party coalition, first time in Germany. first time. We had always two party coalitions. The problem is here for the foreign minister. I can tell you, she will bring this rhetoric. She's nice, she's looking fine, she studied political science, but at the end of the day, what counts are the interests of the state since 1648. And Otto von Bismarck is not a Turkish one, but is a German one, the founder of Realpolitik. And Germany, in this respect, at least someone as a student of German studies, I can only say the Germans have a maneuver space much bigger than many others because they are rich, they have the technology and all this. But at the end of the day, as Kishore Mahbubani said in his book, Has China Won? If the Europeans want to join this biggest economic sphere in Asia, they are most welcome, but they should not come and teach us their values. We have our values. They have to respect our values. Don't come to us and tell us about human rights, freedom of speech in the European sense, he said. And this is also something that the decline of the European values worldwide became the case after this migration wave. We have, and Professor Küçükcan is very interesting, in the 80s, we had publications like the universal values of the European countries, democracy, human rights, etc. But we have seen just one migration wave destroy this entire image of the European values. European countries became again very unique states. The European Union failed, for example, to distribute the masks. The Italians and the Czechs, they were fighting against each other. They were calling each other, you steal my masks, I need this. And suddenly we realized the European Union has no common health policy. There is a wonderful publication now by a German former diplomat and professor, Hans-Dieter Heumann, the Strategische Diplomatie, the strategic diplomacy in English. He tells there about the problems of the European Union as a multilateral organization. Multilateralism is very important for all the countries, but the problem is here the recent developments, Poland, Hungary, and other Balkan countries, that within the European Union we have some separating power structures. European Union after the COVID-19 period in particular will face some new problems. How France and Germany will unify these countries again and keep the control is the open question. And with this type of rhetoric, Germany probably would have much more difficulties if she is insisting to have the values, what she is foreseeing. The world politics is not going to be feministic, but rather more masculine in the future.
Professor Bağcı, with that, I think we come to the end of our discussion. Thank you very much. It was a very lively debate. I think we have learned a lot from your observations and your analysis of the German foreign policy. And today it was your birthday, and we would like to wish you a happy birthday, very healthy birthday. And also I would like to wish to our audience a happy new year, because now we are going to enter a new year. And hopefully we can meet at another venue and at another discussion. Goodbye from us to everyone.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you. Happy New Year.